Why the Dream SMP sucks? It's definitely a very bold way to start a video, but let me explain. The Dream SMP has been around for 9 months? And yeah, don't get me wrong, I love the Dream SMP. I love the characters and some of their arcs. In the beginning, the Dream SMP had a really great story, and the events of the first war was the pinnacle of the entirety of the SMP. What followed next was good too, but the real deal breaker though is the dawn of the 16th. Everything after that is a bit too messy and unorganized, and I know you agree. Some characters are being overcooked or overrated, while some characters are underdone and thrown away. Plots become either prolonged, and some just get completely cut off with no context. Let's start with the arcs, specifically Tommy's. I asked my Discord about this, and they all agreed on one thing. The discs are getting annoying. It's been a fairly good motive during the first war, and Tommy cares for his discs a lot. I explained this in the last video, but Tommy isn't like other 16-year-olds. He's a child soldier with a dysfunctional family, and his discs are his form of validation. And to Tommy, they represent the world without war. He's in a state of tunnel vision, losing sight of the people around him, the biggest examples being Techno and Tubbo. A lot of people also often complain about his depression arc. Some people claim that they were actually offended. They explain how the depression arc exploited a serious topic in the wrong way. Some described it as being disgusting or unnecessary. Suicide is a very touchy subject, and it's very easy to depict it in a way that comes off as trying to give a character more depth. Those scenes came off as really shallow and or even triggering for some viewers. As for the manipulation bits, it was really good, and it represented manipulative people in a hard-to-swallow but realistic way. And then it just stopped. Tommy left his exile, and the next stream, he immediately went back to normal. Sure, he mentioned mixed emotions about Dream from time to time, but it's not at all what an accurate recovery looked like. To depict a person who's recovering from manipulation and gaslighting like this, it's a little unsettling. And I get that it's all roleplay, but it just seemed a little off. If I read an arc like that in a book, you have to understand that I would have said the same things. And when he goes back to Lmanburg, it's like it never even happened. He doesn't directly tell anyone about it, and it's just discarded as a whole, which is disappointing considering how much everyone liked that arc. The same thing happened when he was living with Techno. The entire fandom loved their dynamic, and it just ended in the worst possible way. Good things in the SMP are cut short for some reason, and the not-so-great things are prolonged. Tommy's arc was one of the greatest, but now it's just one of the most inconsistent. Speaking of inconsistency, there are so many main characters that just make no sense whatsoever. Like how Tubbo supposedly hates war and is a pacifist, but was also in the Butcher Army. To me, majority of the characters are just horribly written. And it's not just the characters, but the whole plot in general. The first war was something completely original and was never done in the Minecraft community, bringing a whole new meaning to SMP. But now they're just milking the whole war idea. It's like how Disney is remaking all their old films and each one gets worse and worse each time. It's true history repeats itself, but it doesn't repeat itself that much. When Wilbur was reacting to MatPat's Dream SMP video, he said the following.
Picked up on is that, in fact, the character of J-Schlatt is not some character who's just there to be the bad guy. He is the force that is helping shape the character. That is good, deep thinking.
But since Wilbur isn't writing anymore, what's the so-called force that shapes the characters? Is it Dream, or is it the characters themselves, and Dream blowing up Lmanburg is just the breaking point? Also, I find it sad that MatPat made a whole ass theory about a plot that was discarded months ago. So there's that. And another thing, why are there so many goddamn villains? Like, why is literally everyone getting a corruption arc? I understand that some characters don't get enough light as others, but pulling a 180 and going evil for no reason isn't the way. I heard Niki and Fundy are villains now for some reason, but they've been some of the most consistent characters in the SMP, and I just don't see that happening. The SMP has a shit ton of members, but they're either OP main characters, discarded side characters, or completely invisible. Not to be rude, but I can't seem to find a better way to describe the characters in the SMP. It's just so messy and unplanned now, I don't even know what's happening anymore. And on top of these oh no anyways characters, there's just so many side stories. It's alright to have side stories, yes, especially if the main story is a never-ending war that just repeats itself. But the side story shouldn't be more interesting or more complicated than the main. Okay, so I absolutely adore Ranboo's character, and I know many can agree. He's well written, has good pacing, and ties up most of the plot holes in the SMP. And I appreciate a well written character in this whirlwind of madness, but when a side character is more interesting than the main character, there should be some kind of problem, right? Because that's just not what's supposed to happen. The story is so damn messy that I wouldn't even be surprised if they revealed aliens existed. Oh wait, that already happened. What's the deal with the Bloodvines side story? It completely disrupts the world building of the SMP. How can ghosts fusing with other ghosts possibly be in the same world as alien eggs corrupting people? The pacing is getting worse and worse. There are just so many random things happening, it's sometimes difficult for even hardcore stans to keep up. And the story would sometimes progress at random times. Like how Tommy would randomly steal the show and become the leader when his character is in no place to do so, and everyone would just go with it. I know it's probably hard having to improvise everything since this is just a roleplay, but sometimes I feel like the creators don't even know their own characters anymore because of how confusing and saturated the story is getting. And that's actually what separates good and bad actors. Good actors know their characters and they know what they would say and when they're not needed, even if it's a missed opportunity. It's the whole premise of roleplay, isn't it? Schlatt, for example, was unintentionally one of the best characters in the SMP and has a lot of potential. He fully accepts that there's places he isn't supposed to go to, and things he isn't supposed to know because that would disrupt all the other characters' arcs. It's controlled chaos in a way, but some characters aren't very good at acting. Communication is also a very big problem in the SMP. It's like as if they don't plan out basic things, which leads to a lot of bits that weren't meant to happen and are just flat out cringy.
You're alive?
Don't take this wrong, but everything after the dawn of the 16th is a waste of time. The perfect cutoff should have been Tubbo becoming president and the SMP would go back to the old days. Cause Jesus Christ, you have no idea how starved the fandom is for a chill stream. Wrapping it up, I still find the Dream SMP the slightest bit enjoyable, and it's still a revolution in entertainment. I guess it just lacks a certain contrast or balance. But I get the feeling that the SMP will get a lot better, and it'll go back to the old days where everything was simple. I also know that this video sounds like a high-pitched 13-year-old complaining about something great, which, well, it is, but this video is a compilation of different opinions I gathered directly from the fandom itself, so don't shoot the messenger.